I am back with episode 44 entitled Good or Great. Please pull up a seat at the round table. Grab a nice cold mug of beer if you're able. I'm drinking some beer right now. This is Killian's. I love it. Let me go have a couple. Let me do a sip real fast. Yeah, it was my thumb rubbing against the mic there. Anyway, on my screen is a game called Victor Van that came out Tuesday. It's $19.99. It's made by Heimermann Games, which does the Tropical series and did the first Templar or the last Templar on the 360. If you absolutely are a Diablo fan, you have to pick this up for several reasons. One, you can actually jump, which is kind of crazy. You can actually jump between walls like that, which helps you explore. The game is simply stunning. Great music, great graphics. As a matter of fact, I've played it enough to where I can actually say this. And even though there's not really so much a class-based system, there is sort of something like that. I want to put this out here. It's definitely just as good as Diablo is. And that's something that's saying a lot for somebody that had played through the first one, the second one, and the third one, and put a ridiculous amount of time into. This has turned into a game I absolutely love. And very happy that I purchased it. Today, I want to talk about a subject called Good or Great. Has anyone ever, you gamers out there, ever come up to you and asked you this question? What is the difference between a good game and a great game? What is the difference? Now, some of you might say, oh, the graphics, because some of you are graphics whores and you just, the game has less than better graphics, then fuck that game. Well, you're idiots. Because that's not the sum. Gameplay is the core of everything. But even gameplay, by the way, does not determine if a game is good or great. And I came to this realization on the way to work because I was thinking about the fact that I've put 3 years into Destiny. I've put several months into Battleborn. I've been a long-time Deus Ex fan and been playing those. And everybody knows, hey, if it's Dynasty Warriors or anything, whatever Warriors, I'm going to pick it up. And especially Mega Force makes it. Token 2, God, what an amazing game. But, good or great. And most people would like to try to explain or define this as certain things. And to be perfectly frank with you, this is my lightning gun real quick. It's a pretty bomber. I also have a hammer. There's another thing you can do in this to switch between weapons. It's just pretty bomber. But anyway, the thing is what is really the core of what makes a good game good and a great game great? What is making something that can be to you and then wow? There's only real one answer. Most people would think there's multiple answers, right? Review scores have fucking nothing to do with it. Throw that shit out right now. I'll tell you why, gamers. Because review scores are subjective. As a matter of fact, there is evidence to conclude that, hey, we paid advertising dollars, so you better give us a good score. Oh, yeah, there's lots of that goes around. These people that work at IGN, Destructoid, and all these other places, their review scores are suspect at best. Because you're not journalists. You're just some people who got lucky. Anyway, my point is, here's the deal. And this is what I'm going to say, because I am the gamer that tells you the way it is. Whether you like it or not. And if you don't like it, man the fuck up. Or woman the fuck up. Whatever you want to do. Let me tell you a little bit about Destiny. Because I've been playing it for 3 years. So I have a good grasp of the game. Is Destiny a great game? And the answer is, hell no, it's not. Is it a good game? Yes, because its core shooting mechanics hold the game up to that standard. Had the game mechanics not been that great on the shooting end, yeah, I wouldn't be playing it. It's only a good game. But here's why. See, developers get this wrong all the time. You see, it's not a great game. It doesn't matter if you think it's a great game. It's not about goes beyond opinion. There's a difference between the good and the great. And the good is that, see, Bungie created this unique world or universe we can roam around in. Moon, Mars, Venus, Earth, whatever. And the Dreadnought. And so they give us these world. And they give us these mechanics in the game, right? And you think, wow, look at all this stuff. And but they make you experience the game experience how they wish you to experience it. If that makes any sense to you. They made this cool world, but they're saying, we know how you should play the game. This is how it should be played. If you look at Destiny at its core, there's really only about 5 things to do in the entire game. There's only like 5 things. You can play story missions. That's 1. You can do strikes. That's 2. You can play Crucible. That's 3. You can go on raids. That's 4. And you can patrol. And that's 5. And that's it. That's it. Trials of Osiris and Iron Banner are just another way to call it Crucible. It's the same shit you've been doing when it's not around. Right? Yes, I might have bounties where I go kill like 50 Cabal or something. But how are you going to do that? And I'll tell you how you're going to do that. Is simply by... You're gonna simply go on patrol to be able to do that by going to Mars or maybe going to the Dreadnought. But truly, there's really only like 5 things you're going to be doing. Like 5 things, and that's it. That's their whole game. And you have to play them a particular way, right? So let me ask you this. So why do people hold a game, let's say 2007's 8 whatever, Mass Effect, the Mass Effect trilogy, and Andromeda included in that? Why is that held in such high regard? Or even if you go back to Knights of the Old Republic, the first game on Xbox, and the second one that Obsidian made but was oversaw by BioWare. Do you know why Mass Effect's a great game and Destiny's a good game, and there's the differences? I'll tell you why. See, Destiny gives you this world, but you have to play it according to the way that they want you to play it. Mass Effect wasn't like that. Mass Effect gave you the same thing. We give you a world. There are rules to it, just like Destiny, just like any Watch Dogs, just like any of those other games. They all have that same thing in common. The difference is, we as gamers get to create our own experience in the Mass Effect trilogy. Mass Effect did not have the be-all, end-all of the graphics end. It was good looking, yes, but it was flawed. Did it have the best, cover mechanics? No. Did it have the best, third-person shooting mechanics? Absolutely not. They were polished, yes. It was playable, absolutely. They worked well. But was it the best? And the answer is no. But what it did do was give us the freedom to choose. My shepherd, your shepherd, female, male, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, whatever. However you made the shepherd. You created your own experience within that world. They did not tell you how to play the game. Yes, the first level is always going to be tutorial level, but after that, handcuffs are off, leash is off. Go do what you need to do. And they give you that world. Why do you think people still play GTA 5 online and in offline? Years later, since it's come out from 360 on. Because they give you this awesome world with a variety of experiences, but they don't make you play it anyway. You go out and create your own experience every time. I play GTA 5 online or play as one of the 3 guys, Franklin, Mike, those characters. You actually create your own experience, how you want to do it. They don't force anything down, and that's why it's considered great. Good games force you to play it the way developers think you should play it. Ubisoft tried very desperately, to say, hey, you've got to do this. You've got to play it a certain way. You have to play it a certain way. And And they always try to say Watch Dogs, and I know deep down they were trying to compete with GTA. Well, they weren't going to compete with GTA because Watch Dogs is very gimmicky, and they give you this world, but you have to kind of play it according to the way that they want you to play it. Adrian couldn't just whip out a gun and start killing random people. You're not allowed to do that. I mean, you can, but the point is like, you couldn't just do some of the things that you see in GTA that you can do. They savagely curtailed a lot of that stuff. I couldn't go up to anybody in the street and randomly beat them up. Yes, I can pull a gun and shoot them, but I could not just beat them up for no reason. Or rob them, or whatever. You couldn't rob stores. You couldn't do any of this stuff. Because they made you play the game how they felt like you should play it. And this is where developers always fuck up. That's why your game's not great. Right? Call of Duty's multiplayer and Battlefield's multiplayer are not just good. They're great for different reasons. And the reason that being is, here's the tools. Here's all these weapons and classes and maps, right? But we don't tell you one way of playing is wrong than the other. Use whatever weapons you wish, whatever class you wish. That's why Battlefield has this experience. Like this game, I'm just going to jump in the tank and use the tank the whole time and be this type of this vehicle guy. But then the next round, I'm going to throw out as an engineer. I'm going to do this. You have multiple options. Even Call of Duty multiplayer in its limited capacity does the same thing. That's why they're considered great. That's why Call of Duty come out and people will play it all the way up until the next one comes out. That's why. Other online multiplayer games don't do that. No one is going to be playing For Honor a year from now. And if they are, it's going to be like a few hundred, maybe a few thousand people. That's it. Why? Well, besides Ubisoft doing peer-to-peer connections because they're fucking stupid. But the fact is, it's not a great game. It's just kind of an okay game. It's good in aspects, but not in others, because they give us this world and say, this is how you have to play it. I'm not allowed to create my own experience given their set of rules and their world. That's the difference, gamers, between what is good and what is great. ReCore is not a terrible game on Xbox One. It's fairly decent. But they really hamper your progress because they force you to play it a very, very specific way. Exploration aside in the open world, which is like barren and nothing to do, right? But then you play Horizon Zero Dawn, and this game is like same thing. Open world, female protagonist, right? Planet filled with machines. Even though one's a desert, one's, the world. But where Horizon Zero Dawn is a great game is not because of its amazing graphics or its gameplay or any of that. It's because you are given the freedom to create your own experience in the world. Here's the world. Have at it. They don't try to force you to play it a certain way. This is the problem with games like Diablo. I didn't mean to say Diablo. I just said that because I started playing the game. Diablo actually is an amazing game, but there's reasons behind that because, again, it's a similar situation. Blizzard lets you create your own, like, what you need to do, regardless of it being, like, you're kind of funneled down a path, especially during the story mode. But it still allows you to create that experience. This is why it works. And, I think it's interesting to, when these other games that come out, they don't do that. I'm a longtime Dynasty Warriors fan, and I will tell you, not every game is created equally since Omega Force started bringing the series out. And what I mean is, here you got this game that they've not always been like, they've been either mediocre to good, and only one or two, maybe three of the titles have truly been great. And those are the titles like the Empire series. You create your character. You pick what weapons and Muso attacks you have, right? And then you go set off and figure out how you want your character to be to create a different experience for yourself. You know, you can get married in the game now. You can have children in the game, or you don't have to. Not every time you play through the game, it's a very different experience, and that's why it succeeds. That's why it doesn't matter that Dynasty Warriors 8 Empires doesn't have the greatest of graphics, and things like that, or even the most crazy of gameplay. It has everything to do with the fact that I'm allowed to create the experience given the tools that I have. I will say this right off the bat. No Man's Sky, for example, I've never been bored playing it. Do you know why I've never been bored playing that game? Because it gives me the ability to create the experience that I want. They don't pigeonhole me like other games do. All these other game companies have tried for so many years to try to trump GTA, for example. The only game company that's come close is Volition, with like Saints Row 2, which was basically a carbon copy of that, but a little bit different, obviously. But because they give you this world and there's all these experiences, but what they really do is allow you to create that experience for you. They don't force you to play it a certain way, like Bungie does with Destiny, right? Like other game companies do. Why do you think I talk so highly about Deus Ex? Because they do the same thing that I'm talking about. Here's Adam Jensen, here's the world. There's nothing you do can be considered right or wrong. You play the game and create the worlds you need. Your Jensen is yours. It's unique. How he affects the world and interacts is your world. You create that experience. But then you play other games. You turn around and play like a fucking Final Fantasy 14 where they're like, hey, we're going to, here's some cool recipes to make bowls of soup. We're going to make sure that you don't get your car for a long period of time. And granted, the combat's kind of cool with the whole warp strikes and all that stuff. You can't customize your characters. Can't do any of that. We're gonna constantly. Here's an open world, but before you can do any of it, you got to go through 14 hours of all this other crap. We're making the decision on how you play that game for you. We know better. Right? And then when you finally get the training wheels off hours later in the game and you can take off in your car and even fly, by then, the halfway point of the game, you're just funneled down a certain path. It's totally cut off. Like, they know better than we do. That's why Final Fantasy 14, it's in no way, shape, or form a great game. I don't care if you think it's a great game. You're wrong. I'll say that right now. You're wrong. Because it's a good game. And in some parts, not so good. I will put Nier Automata's up against Final Fantasy XIV any day of the week. And Nier Automata, again, Asian made, right? Both of them. Platinum Games, Square Enix, right? They're both RPGs, right? They have action elements in the combat. Both of them do. The difference between the two is Nier Automata gives you the game world, and when you can just roam around as 2B and the other characters, non-SNLs, they don't hold your hand. They don't say this or that. You actually have the freedom to create the experience you want in Nier Automata. Do what you need to do. They released the training wheels almost right off the bat, and then boom, go, do whatever. And it's not about the freedom and create. It's just that ability to create the experience that I have. And when I talk to people about Nier Automata, they tell me things like, "I didn't know you could do that," or "Wow, I must have missed that." Like, their experience was unique to them. They could create, because Platinum gave us the world, and they didn't say, you have to do this, and you have to do this, and you have to do this. You play Final Fantasy XIV, your car breaks down. Then we gotta get Cid's niece coming out, with her boobs hanging out. Oh, and then you're gonna spend all this time doing this. They force you to play the game how they think you should play it. Which, look at this wonderful open world, but we're putting the handcuffs on you right away. And this is why Final Fantasy XIV didn't sell 100 million copies. It barely broke even. Because gamers are starting to smart and wise up to this. Look at Watch Dogs. And Ubisoft has always made games that are just all centered around one gimmick. But the idea is Assassin's Creed Syndicate a great game? Hell no. Is it a good game? Yeah. But again, they force it around a gimmicky premise, and then once you've done everything once, you've done it. Why do you think The Division is the way it is? Or Wildlands? They continuously try to give you this one or two things that they gimmick on, and that's it. We want you to play the game how we feel. Everyone's experience in The Division, for example, is pretty much identical. Why do you think Bungie and Destiny, they've changed so much and had so many different updates? Not just major updates, but small ones, because they can't figure out there's really only 5 things to do in the fucking game, and that's it. That's it. I already pointed this out earlier. Strikes, Raid, Patrol, Crucible, Story. That's it. That's it. And you can't say, well, Trials of Osiris, that's just Crucible. Well, Iron Banner, that's just Crucible, just redone with some different modifiers. That's all it is, right? Oh, I got bounties. Yeah, but you gotta go and patrol to pretty much do them. Well, then I got these other bounties. Well, that's just Crucible bounties. You're still just doing Crucible. And it's not a great game. I played it 3 years. I like the game, but it's not great because they force me. I can't create my own experience within that game, gamers. I mean, if you play Destiny, you'll know what I mean. People who do the strikes, they're the same thing. Their experience is almost identical to mine. Shoot the damn bullet sponge thing, take cover, kill the ads, shoot the boss. You're not allowed to create that experience. I go to Earth on patrol. It's a self-contained map. You can go from one side to the other in literally less than 5 minutes. You know, everyone's experience is identical. Even the character classes are barely different from each other. And because they don't get it. And this is why I hold like when I did my No Man's Sky episode about how people don't get the game, but it's the same thing. They give you this universe, but they're not saying you don't have to follow Atlas. You don't have to follow Nano Polo. You don't have to do none of that. Here's the universe. Go create your own experience with it. What you do and get out of it is yours. You know? And that's why I hold games like that in high regard. And Deus Ex Human Revolution on last gen, and the Mankind Divided now, because I create my own experience. Why do you think Dark Souls and Souls-like games like Lords of the Fallen and The Surge are so popular and successful? It's not because Dark Souls has the best graphics. It doesn't even have the best gameplay. As a matter of fact, it's got some issues with clipping and other things like that. It's because you create this character, or Bloodborne, that included, and you create your own experience. Everyone's playthrough with those games is so different from everybody else's. That's why they're great games. That's what sets them apart. And so many developers out there just don't get that. They don't understand that. By the way, today's episode is brought to you by Beer in the Throat. Man, that's good. If you're just joining me, this is episode 44 called Good or Great. I'm trying to explain the differences between what is good and what is great. Like, what is the differences and why that is. And I'm not talking about graphics or even gameplay or other things for that matter. I'm just mainly trying to explain there are some games that are definitely considered great and good. And I'm not even talking about your opinion. Like, it doesn't matter that if you think a game is great, or I think a game is great, or if I think something's good or bad. It's just one of those things where, you know, I'm just talking mainly about why certain games I feel or others feel are great versus some that are kind of meh or just good. It's because the developers out there that say, here's the world, here's all the stuff you can do. Look at Dragon Age Inquisition versus Dragon Age 2. Dragon Age 2, while a good game, it was an action RPG at its core. It was different from the first one. It's only kind of good. And the reason that is because you have to play Hawk, male or female. There's only one kind of outcome. It's linear, but there is some open areas, but they kind of make you play it a certain way. Like you're kind of forced down a certain path. There is an illusion of choice, but it's not really there. But then you look at Dragon Age Inquisition, it's so fucking night and day. It's so night and day. It's incredible to go like, wow, because you make your character. And you're not called Hawk. Everyone calls you Hawk no matter, even when you name your character in Dragon Age 2, you're still a Hawk. So what was the point of me naming him? But you name him or her in Dragon Age Inquisition, you're just the Herald. That's what, of Andraste. That's what you are. And so your name does matter. And you're given this crazy world, the maps are huge, and you create your own, like, story out of that. That's why that game is great. People I talk to all the time about Dragon Age Inquisition, DAI I call it, they always tell me things, and I'm like, wow, my experience was so much different. That's so crazy based on choices and stuff like that. That's cool, you know? And that's why it works. That's why games like, even on the action RPG sense, like Diablo works, because even though yes, everyone's story is going to be the same because you're following the story path until you unlock like adventure mode, but because the game has the loot system in place and all the other systems and the different classes, your experience is varied because of that reason. It's very cool, you know, because now you have so even though, yes, there might be similarities, Diablo is a great game because you do create your own experience based on your character. I can take two different demon hunters and completely build them up very differently from the next, based on the skills and the stuff that I assign. My experience will be different based on someone else's character who's the same, based on someone else's character who's the same, and so on and so forth. That's why those games over the years have maintained such a huge popularity. People play Elder Scrolls Online. It's the same situation. You create your own experience given the tools. But so many games get this wrong. So many developers don't understand that. So many people have tried to dethrone GTA. And it's not going to happen. Because they just, for some reason, can't fathom. And I know this sounds crazy. They just can't fathom, what are we doing wrong? I'll tell you what you're doing wrong, Watch Dogs, and other games like that. You won't let me create my own experience within the game. You've made an experience and say you have to play it this way. This is what you can do, and that's it. That's the difference between what is good and what is great. Hey, man, that's food for thought, words for thought. Hey, thank you for joining me on today's episode 44 of the Gaming Roundtable. Hey, please subscribe. Tell your friends about me. Please like the video. If you dislike it, well, I can't really help you there. But let me tell you something real quick. I do appreciate you tuning in. I'm sorry that I haven't been as much video happy lately. I really honestly have not had a whole lot to talk about. I've been kind of catching up with games and stuff I've been trying to catch up with. I do want to tell you this much, though. Please subscribe. Please make a comment if you agree, disagree, whatever, because I love a good thing. If you would like to be on an episode of the Gaming Roundtable and come join me in a unique discussion about games, the game industry, please hit me up. I am the JuiceMan3941. That is my PSN tag. You can hit me up on YouTube. I'd love to have you part of the Gaming Roundtable, pulling up that chair if you're able, grabbing that mug of beer. And let me tell you also, this subject that I did today, by the way, is something that I just kind of thought of on the way to work. And I really wanted to think, what really does make a game good or great, and what really is it about? It's not about gameplay, graphics, or all that. It's really about how the developer allows us to either create our own experiences or you force experiences down our throat. And that's and it can only be played a certain way. If you agree with me, great. If you don't, great. We agree to disagree. But I will tell you this much. I do appreciate you tuning in. And again, feel free to comment. Please tell your friends about me. And again, if you're a gamer girl 18 out there, I do appreciate you tuning in. Thank you very, very much for being one of my loyal subscribers and my other subscribers out there. And I will say this as always, as I end every episode, as always, gamers, remember, good gaming. As a matter of fact, I hope you have great gaming. This has been the JuiceMan 3941, telling you the way it is. Take care, God bless, Godspeed, and as always, good gaming.